Okay, so so for question number 9, or sorry, thank you for doing question number 9. I appreciate, like we said, those distinctions and those clarifications, especially with that tag example, because you're right, like being pushed, it could seem, like that is, being pushed, like that could be bullying, like, with more context, you're like, oh, well, that was just something that happened from a game. There was no malintent from that. It just, happened by accident. So it changes. It wasn't bullying. It was just. So I appreciate, you talking about that. So for question number 10, how has your own professional growth enhanced your classroom?
Well, I'd say that it's helped me always to stay fresh, to learn new tactics, remind me sometimes of things that I already knew, but maybe I haven't been using as regularly as I used to. So those are some things. I know my first few years, I just wanted to know everything, and I took a gazillion units, just to keep learning more. And even though I've been teaching 21 years, I still come home and research things and look for articles. And sometimes I find that the professional training that the school district gives maybe isn't as useful to me anymore, because maybe I've heard it before and they have to do some things over and over, because there's new employees.
Right.
But I do find that I enjoy just doing professional learning on my own, going online. Okay, I've been teaching Penguin, so what's something new we can do this year? And then maybe I find a science experiment that I can do with blubber, and that really explains what blubber is.
Yeah.
So, I just find different things. I think I just want to try to keep it fresh instead of being one of those teachers that does the same thing every single year and doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
And I would say out of the ongoing training, the technology training, I think I appreciate the most, because from the time I went to school, there was no technology training in the class. There was no technology in the classroom.
Right.
So, and then now, where every child in my class has an iPad, and we keep digital portfolios, and you use something like Google Classroom, or you're teaching on Zoom, or
Right.
So I really do appreciate the professional technology training, because technology changes fast.
That's
and if
so
you
true.
don't keep up with it, it's even harder.
I believe it. It's amazing how fast technology grows, and then how far its arm stretches. Like, I remember when I was in elementary school, like our day at the computer lab, you'd go to like these huge Mac computers, and then now, kids who, they're now or how old I was back then, they now have like the smallest little tablet ever, and then they could do everything I was doing plus more. So it's amazing how fast technology, expands, and then how you got to keep up with it, and how it, enhances your classroom. So,
I will say one of the things that, like, again, in being an older educator, when all of a sudden people started using Google Docs, I had no idea what Google Docs was. And our district would offer optional trainings. At first I'm like, no, I like using Word. I like using Microsoft. I know how to use it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until later that I realized all that Google Docs did and all that you can do in there. And I was very eager to take training on it. And I took a lot of them on my own, too. The district offered some. I think the very first ones I offered, I was like, oh, okay, or some of it went over my head. Because I teach it in school now, and anybody that comes out as a new teacher, they know how to do all of that. So I think I really do appreciate the technology training the most. It keeps me current and up to date.
No, that's good. That's good. That's good. So question 11. So which strategies do you incorporate to accommodate English language learners and students with IEPs or 504 plans?
I don't always think about them as strategies, but they are. Well, the first thing I do again, I can't stress how important it is to cultivate a relationship with the students.
Right.
And especially if a student's on a 504 or an IEP with the families. I try to develop relationships with all the families, but those families I really like to touch base with even a little bit more because, there's just things we need.
Right.
I want to make sure that we don't miss. English language learners, I try to teach language skills across the curriculum, whether
Right.
I'm teaching math or English or reading a story. I'm always doing vocabulary words or putting up little pictures on the board. I'll draw a picture and then underneath it write the definition, and then maybe we'll go over that vocabulary word every day during the week. So I do that a lot. Almost every unit I have either developed my own vocabulary cards with a picture of it, and then we read it together during the week, every single day during our class meeting so that they kind of learn new things. And those with the English language learners, I think it helps them especially. I use sentence frames a lot with a lot of kids that are English language learners or even kids with IEPs. I've this year I have 2 autistic students and who don't have. I have 2 autistic students who don't have very good verbal skills, and so I'm always using sentence frames for them, and then they will repeat that back and then put their one word in that they need to, and I think it helps them to later on have better skills. Speak slowly and increase wait time is something to do with the English language learners. Differentiate for all of them, whether it's the English language learner or I just differentiate for all my class, whether they have a 504 or an IEP. It could be writing, it could be speaking, drawing or listening. I might have a student do something differently and then the rest of the class. When I'm teaching, I try to teach to all the modalities, because some are kinesthetic and some are auditory, some are visual. Right. Kindergarten lends itself really well to always doing kinesthetic activities, so I try to really take advantage of that.
Awesome.
And if a student's an English language learner, I try to use their native language if possible. Occasionally, if I need to, I'm not afraid to use technology as a tool and look up a word so that I can explain to them what I need. I use realia, music, movement. A lot of times I assign kids, whether it's an IEP student or an EL student or a 504 student, a buddy. It just depends on what the need is. So I assign buddies, and usually those are students who like helping others, and they're kind of responsible and they love it.
I love that.
I do, especially for the IEPs too. I think of when I design my, I do learning stations each week, and when I do that, I try to think of different ways to do things for those students.
Awesome. Well, no, it sounds like you have a lot of different methods and a lot of different variations to incorporate everyone, and then so that everyone can participate and learn. And I love that. That's awesome. One sec. So